Okay, and we're live. Welcome to Startup TNT Angel Pitch Night 2. We've got a new batch of angels here. It's 1 week before the summit. We're really excited about it. We've got one alumni angel and a number of the angels that are participating with us in the summit. And when I say angel, I mean investor. We're investing in early stage companies together. We're having a lot of fun in the community. And this is week 110 of the Startup TNT Happy Hour. I think we've got 175 tickets sold already for our big event next week. These guys will be among the group selecting which companies we invest in. Minimum 2 deals out of 10 that are presenting, possibly more. Only time will tell. But look, we're here because every single week we like to showcase what's going on in our community. We showcase entrepreneurs on a regular basis. We've showcased the VCs before, but this is the first time we're doing the angels. So really excited just to kind of see the different types of people that join us as angel investors that get into this space. Many of them entrepreneurs themselves. Some of them come from, just general business backgrounds or social innovation backgrounds, all types of backgrounds involved. But without further ado, this night is all about the angels. So I'm going to start with our first one, which is Angela Armstrong. You might have seen her on the cover of a recent business magazine. She's the founder of one of the leading companies here in Edmonton, lending organization. Angela, take it away for us. Let's hear about your life and your company in 3 minutes or less.
Well, I had a rap all prepared, and then Zach told me I only had 3 minutes. My rap song is 12 minutes long, so I have to throw that right out of the window and start with something entirely different. So it's going to be a little more mundane than I had planned. I'm sorry, Zach. It's, the posterity is not going to be quite as cool. I became an entrepreneur when the job that I was in had been in for 15 years with a company. I started right out of university in finance. I had no idea what I was getting into, did not have a commerce degree, did not have a finance background. In fact, I had taken a criminology degree, ended up in finance by the way those things happen. You meet somebody and they say, hey, I think I have a job for you. So I did that for 15 years, running a branch of a company. And then that company consolidated, got out of the marketplace. And I was left sort of twiddling my thumbs at home saying, what am I going to do? And had a young child, second child on the way, literally like within a month of that child's due date, and started a company in the field in which I had some expertise. Over time, I got challenged to put some investment capital in that company and kind of start doing my own lending as opposed to brokering to other lenders. And once I got shockingly approved for a line of credit, there was no venture capital, at least there was no community, there was no conversation about that. What you did is you found people who trusted you that might want to make a little investment in you. But in my memory, there was no formal conversations about that. People just kind of making their way through inside of a community. I wish there had been more formal conversations. I would have saved myself a lot of pain and suffering. But I did have really good mentors. I would say the one thing that was really valuable for me, and now our company is celebrating its 21st year in business, still based in Edmonton, but we've got clients across Canada, and we borrow money from the capital markets, so we have significant rigor and posterity to our business in terms of the impact we make. We lend to entrepreneurial clients. It's my favorite type of cohort. And how I became an investor is kind of the same way I became an entrepreneur, maybe by accident. Somebody said, you should come to this thing we're going to. Good friend of mine who was getting involved. And I said, I don't know anything about investing. She said, you lend. What it turns out is lending is very different from investing. So I've had to learn all from the ground up all over again. But it's been tremendously fun. It's inspiring. It's hard work to put yourself in the right headspace to learn and to understand. Some of the opportunities are in walks of life I have no familiarity with. So you spend a lot of time learning and growing. But if that gets you up in the morning, is learning and growing in new ways every day, this is a great place to be. So I've had a ton of fun with it, invested in 2 or 3 companies last year. And
you did some side deals with it.
I know, right?
That's right.
Side deals, yeah, we did the side deals. And then since then, I invested in 2 other companies in my related industry growth spaces. So once you get your feet wet, it's kind of fun and you learn a little bit about how to do it. So I appreciate the opportunity I had here, Zach. Thank you.
Well, Angela, just one question. I know that you're also involved in a lot of community work, especially about building out female leaders within the startup and business community. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, I do a lot of mentoring in my business. I was the board chair of Women Building Futures, which is helping to kind of mobilize women in trades roles and get them out of maybe constrained life economics and into better futures. I also participate in Women Presidents Organization. I mentor people from there. We're doing a program right now where we're celebrating women entrepreneurs and profiling them. We have a podcast called Prime for Growth in which we profile them and how we're focusing on innovation. I think there's a lot of great stories to tell here on all kinds of innovation, not just technology, but that inspires me to see how people are making a difference and an impact. So it's part of my everyday life.
All right. It's so great to have you, Angela. We're going to stop here. We got a lot of angels to get through today. Hope some of you can stay us for the happy hour. And Angela, welcome back to join us anytime at one of our investment summits. So great to have you. Okay, next we have James Freeman, who is joining us for our second summit. He joined us at the Clean Tech Summit. He's back again. One of our most prominent DD aficionados, James Freeman. Great to have you here. Tell us a little bit about your background. We know that you helped build a company for many years here in Edmonton, and now you're part of the team at TrustBix. So James, take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you. And Angela, thank you so much. I'm going to be honest, I've had a long, hard day, and you've inspired me. I feel a lot better now about this session and who I am as a person. So thank you for that. You know what? I'm going to start with how I became an investor, Zach. So there's two things. Like I'm in the legacy sort of phase of my career. I've been working for 32 years in lots of different industries. And when you've got teenage kids who are contemplating university, you start to think about, what impact am I having on the planet? How am I leaving the world a better place? And I think that's primarily why I got into angel investing. So there was the desire, the means came from an exit, and actually it's an ongoing exit. And I'm going to be honest, I'm recycling my plunder from the oil and gas industry. That exit came, folks, this is probably one of the quiet sort of unsung success stories of the Alberta ecosystem. A company called ZI was around for 30 years, had a couple of pivots. I was the CTO of ZI from 2007 to 2017. We built an IoT platform that monitors upstream oil and gas assets. We built it up. It monitors 2.2 million sensor streams, hundreds of companies in the Western Canadian Sedimentary Basin, down in the US. So really classic sort of Alberta ecosystem company. And the bad news is we sold it to Americans, private deal starting in 2019. And we've sort of been breaking the company apart and selling the pieces off to maximize the exit. So that's how the means came. In terms of the background that I bring, I've sort of, my natural habitat is the telecom industry. I'm an electrical engineer, and right through grad studies and into my first career with TELUS, with EdTel, even for folks that remember EdTel, I've always been interested in telecom and how telecom can enable society to do great things. And so part of my investor thesis is, you really need to be a technology company. You could argue everybody's a technology company, but you need to be leveraging technology and Industry 4.0 to build a better place. And so those are the kind of companies I look for in my thesis. And I've been in the electric utility industry, and I'm currently in the ag tech space. So I'm a city slicker who's, I think we all claim to be one or two cousins removed from farmers. I'm actually awfully removed from farmers, but love what digitization and what technology can bring to the ag tech space. And so I'm with TrustBix, which is an Edmonton-based company. I suspect that's the one, Zach, that you were alluding to.
Well, James, it's great to have you. Thanks for setting the tone here, James. Just kind of relax us all and remind that we're just here to have some fun, make friends, build companies after a stressful day. That is the goal. So, James, how active are you as an angel investor? I know you're involved with our group, you're involved with other groups. Tell us just briefly about that.
I've done 11 deals over the last 6 years. And my early angel experience was as a lone wolf. I soon realized that I couldn't do the due diligence and all the work myself, and was limited in terms of the deal flow. One of the best decisions I've made in the last year in COVID times was to get involved with Valhalla and then with the startup TNT community. Love the people, love the shared wisdom, learning lots from folks. And I would say a good chunk of my deals, I've violated every one of Randy Thompson's rules. He says, don't write a check in the first year. So I wrote 5.
Well, at TNT, we modify that to don't write too big of a check in the first year. Just write a small check. Get your
I have to admit, I have reined it in. So I do have a max check size. And I can tell you that some of my early investments were way, way bigger than that.
James, really great to have you here. And I think James is a little understated. He is a very intelligent angel investor. He has a lot of experience, brings a lot to the table. Great DD, great leadership on the team. Great to have you part of the community, James. Listen, let's actually, the next speaker here that I'm seeing on my screen is someone that is very familiar to me. I think she might be calling in from the other side of my own house. Is that Karen Tang? Calling in, one of our angel investors is in fact my very dear wife, Karen Tang. Welcome to the show.
And for those of you who are on this call, you can't hear this, but I can hear it echo through the wall. So anyways, cheers to that. And look at that, Zach, we're drinking the same thing.
We're drinking the same beer, like husband, like wife.
Yeah, thanks for having me here tonight.
Welcome. So Karen, tell us a little bit about your background and how you became an angel investor.
Yeah, and thanks, James, for setting that tone, because I'm gonna actually build off of that, and it's really nice to see some Angela familiar faces from the last few rounds, and some folks I've gotten to know in recent summits. So I'm coming at this a little bit differently, not so much from a business perspective, but really from a social development perspective, because that is my background. Actually, a number of years ago, I moved out here, with Zach. To study public health and health promotion over here at U of A. And that's really what I do on a day-to-day basis, using social innovation approach to build healthy communities. And as part of my work, we really try to use human-centered design and innovation methods like ethnographic research, rapid prototyping, field testing, and iterating. Always starting small, but thinking about how to build these scalable solutions with communities that will have a significant social impact. And I'm actually quite new to the space, but I'm learning lots every single day. And oftentimes it means bring different sectors together. People who don't often work together, like entrepreneurs and local community leagues, for example, or businesses with agencies. And often these folks don't even agree with each other most of the time. But anyways, that's exactly what I do in my current role with the McConnell Foundation, which is a national foundation. I manage an initiative called Participatory Canada. And then previous to that, I was working at the city of Edmonton, managing a pretty large initiative called Recover to improve urban wellness in the downtown core, which, as many of us on this call know, is mired with lots of different kinds of challenges. And so some often, what we would do is really walk alongside some of the most vulnerable Edmontonians in our city, trying to understand their perspective, pain points that some of us might not really understand, but also their aspirations. And then, hearing from those stories and moving from those starting points to bring citizen groups together to prototype ideas to overcome those barriers from that person-centered approach. And I would say over the past few years, and Zach, you and I, we have lots of conversation about this, is there's a lot of parallel between social and tech innovation. And that is the lens I bring to angel investing. In fact, I would say, what kind of got hooked me was one of the earlier investments we made as part of Valhalla, investing in entrepreneurs in South Sudan, and helping to build a country that would have both economic and social impact. And that really was, I would say, the starting point of building this thesis around social and economic impact and ecological impact, certainly over the years. And I see actually TNT as a social impact endeavor as well, especially if we think about this thesis of circulating local capital in the local economy, which I think in the post-COVID reality, that's going to be a really important path forward. So this is now my third investment summit. I'm definitely more passive this time, more listening, but I'm focusing a lot of my energy in running for city council this fall.
Congratulations, Karen. Best of luck in running for city council.
Yeah. Thanks, Zach. As if you didn't know.
As if I didn't know. We're gonna have a busy household this fall. It's gonna be very exciting times. Anyway, so great to have you. So everyone knows, Karen and I do make our investment decisions together, and I am lucky enough that my wife is super supportive of my passions, what I'm doing, because for those that don't know, most of our wealth that we're investing is actually from Karen's side of the family. So thank you, Karen, for supporting my dreams and my passions and being part of this community.
Yeah.
Which ward are you running in? People want to know. Which ward are you running in?
So this is the Southeast Edmonton. It's called Ward Gatineau, which is Millwoods and all the way to Beaumont.
Okay, well, there's actually another politician among our group here. This is what I love about this. We've got multiple types of characters, people coming at it from all. We'll see if you can guess who that is later in the show. Okay, up next, we got Jade Alberts. Let's go to Calgary. We haven't heard from the Calgary investors yet. Mr. Jade Alberts, founder of Peer Guidance, runs his own weekly talk show, super active in our community. Really great to have him here at TNT. He's embraced it as about as well as anyone can, but as enthusiastically as anyone can. Jade, tell us a little bit about your background. And we know you like baseball. We know you like Nathan's hot dogs. We know you love entrepreneurs. What else do we need to know about Jade Albert?
Well, I'm sandwiched between two politicians, so here we go. All right, stick the guy from Calgary in between the two Edmonton politicians. I like that. No, I mean, the one thing that I wanted to talk about today is how my past experiences have led me to be, I don't know if it's a good angel investor, but at least an angel investor. But literally from the time I took a semester off 30 years ago to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, anything that I've ever done has turned out. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way. I think I've just been right place, right time, very, very lucky. I mean, when I started off in sales, it was just one of those things that I got to work with a family run business, and they allowed me to saying, basically, here's your rope and don't hang yourself. So it is something that they say, here's the margins, here's what we have to make, here's what we have to sell it as, this is what you're going to run your commission at. And even as a very young 21, 22 sales guy, I was understanding margins and as a sales guy trying to get all the sales. But that extremely helped me when I became an entrepreneur, because it's hard for salespeople to say no to deals. Like, you're a sales guy, man. You get out there, pound the pavement, make the sales. Who cares what you get? Who cares what the company makes? You're a sales dude, right? It's all about you. And this really taught me about being a business owner. And when I finally became that entrepreneur, when we bought the rights to Nathan's Famous Hot Dogs in Canada, it made that transition a little easier to say no and walk away from deals and say, oh no, we're just a little company here. We can't make this investment. We can't do business with you because we're not going to make money. We can't put this dollars into marketing. We just aren't that. So it really showed me the importance and the understanding of saying no and how I have to listen to people and listen to the fellow entrepreneurs that I was dealing with at that time. So I mean, everybody kind of has their own investor thesis. Mine is really putting the focus or putting myself in the shoes of the entrepreneur, because I've kind of walked down that road and I try to understand their decisions, why they made them, why what I have done, what have I done it different, how they handled a crisis, how they've overcome tough situations, made tough decisions, and how they've learned from these experiences. Because to me, it's all about people, and people are the company. People buy from people invest in people. So, understanding it from the entrepreneur's point of view, I think is is very important. And, just because I like the entrepreneur doesn't mean I'm going to invest in them. No, but it does give me a really good look into the person's character, passion, and their drive to succeed. So I know this is a little weird, but I try to go into every meeting that I first meet. And, out of the 40, I almost met with all of them in the last summit here. I want to go in there with very little knowledge because I want to see them. I want to see their passion. I want to see them, tell me your story. Tell me what you're going to do. I don't want to read about it. I don't want to go in there. I want to see it and I want to hear it from you. So, this passion's made me become a better investor. If I can't invest in them, I probably know someone that will help them. I've recommended people. And I mean, that's really my mantra is that purpose before profit. And I really want to make these connections and pay my network and my knowledge forward and really try and help as many entrepreneurs as I can if it's not financially. So that's my telling it like it is story.
I love the philosophy of purpose before profit. I think we can all identify with that as entrepreneurs ourselves and investors. Okay, Jade, tell us a little bit about telling it like it is. You've had me on that podcast. I know you've had a lot of people from the TNT community on that podcast. What is telling it like it is? What's the story behind that?
Yeah, I was a little disappointed when I started really diving into the entrepreneurial ecosystem here. There was no one really giving the love to the companies that need it. You don't need to be a Benevity or a SMED or a Jobber to get the love. I mean, there was so many great companies, and those companies didn't become good because they got money. They've been great for a long time. So it's allowed a lot of little companies, a lot of startups, James's, Hubert was on as Trustpix and I've had, well over almost 180 interviews now, and I've reached 1.8 million views. So I really love getting to know the people and you don't have to be a TNT person. Like I said, it's just something that you give them that opportunity to shout from the mountaintop.
Well, Jade, great to have you here. Jade's also a TNT ambassador, and quick fact about Jade, he has administrative rights to our LinkedIn account, and since that happened, he's doubled the number of followers that we have. We actually now have more followers than he has for his own organization. So thank you, Jade. Look at that dedication.
Come on. I got to catch up to you now. Thanks, Zach. Thanks for all you guys.
Great to have you part of the team, Jade. And let's move on next to the second politician of the group. This is a former city councilor, but he's part of our group because he's also built a massive company here in Edmonton that I think a lot of us don't know about in the financial transaction space. It is Michael Oshry. Michael, welcome aboard and great to have you part of the team this time around. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, thanks, Zach. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm not sure I like being called a politician, by the way. I got to figure that out, maybe wrap my head around that or something.
You're just an Edmontonian that serves.
That's right. That's right. Well, I'll tell you a bit about I'm just going to talk business. So I'm just going to tell you about my business background. So for the fun fact, although that's not the business, that's probably the big deal for me. But the fun fact for those of you that live in Edmonton, I started Remedy Cafe, which has now got 1 billion locations. That Z, the owner, is the guy who's been built that business up. But I was the founder, so that was a fun fact. I owned that for a few years, way back when. I don't want to tell you what year that was, because I'm not sure I know, late 90s, but a long time ago. And Z is awesome. He's an awesome guy. But after that, actually, right when I sold it, I started this other company called Firma. It was called Globex at the time. It's now called Firma Foreign Exchange, and it's a foreign exchange payments company. And we do some other sort of side, a bit of lending, some other sort of products like that. And, we started it on so here's a terrible story. We started it with no budget, like formal budget, no business plan, Costco tables, one employee. We would never have gotten any money from Startup TNT in 1 billion years. But it seemed to have worked. And so now we've got offices in Calgary and across the country in all the the 7 big cities. And then we've got one in Auckland, New Zealand, and one in Sydney, Australia, and one in London, England. We've got about 100 people downtown Edmonton, and then another 100, depending on the day, plus around the world. So our head office is still downtown Edmonton. And so that business just, grew exponentially fairly quickly. This is maybe a bit of a tip for some of you that are starting a business, is we were always profitable, which is crazy. Not always, but within a few months, we became relatively profitable and then just reinvested the money back into the company. So we never had any debt. The business never had any debt for 15 years. And then eventually we put some debt on the books for growth reasons and everything else. But the reason that we were profitable is because we were all about the sales, and we never really worried about the other stuff. We kind of would catch up. And so we always ran the business that it would be like, sales, and then infrastructure would kind of catch up. And then when we get too much infrastructure, then we get sales. And it was never this linear, things never matched. It was always just chaos. And so that's how we ended up growing the business, I'll say fairly quickly. And then I, operated that business, became the sales. It was with my brother that we started it. And then I eventually bought him out and became the sole shareholder in 2013 and hired a CEO, professional management. So I was pretty self-aware, and I kind of knew that my time at running the shop was done. It needed somebody smarter than me, somebody with more experience and who could run a bigger business than I had experience. And so I stepped aside and put on a board of directors and let him and the team run it. And then since then, besides my little political foray at city council for 4 years, I also invest in a variety of different businesses in totally random sectors. From I helped Corey at Delta ML as one of the startup people there, and invest in the casino and a marijuana greenhouse in BC, but actually an outdoor greenhouse, because actually the shtick there is it's all sun, it's not lights, it's using the sunlight, and some real estate stuff in Toronto, so kind of all over the map. So I quite like it. It's pretty interesting. You don't win every time, but it's pretty fun when you do. And if it's managed properly, if you don't win, it's not the end of the world. So that's the way that I look at investing. And then I also try to look at some stuff that's I'll say environmentally friendly, or so for example, I'm in a oil and gas fund, but it's actually they only invest in companies that are trying to do something positive with the oil and gas industry to make it net zero or doing something. There's got to be a hook that's pretty environmentally conscious. And so, but otherwise it's all over the map. I actually own a piece of sand mine, which hasn't actually mined anything. So basically it's just a bunch of sand in the ground somewhere. That one's not going so well.
This sounds about right. I think we invest all over the map too. So that's how it is. Sometimes your investment thesis is hard to describe, but okay. Quick question, Michael, what drew you to our investment group here at TNT?
Well, I've run and started small business. The economy in Alberta is fundamentally small and medium businesses, that really drive the economy here. And a fun fact that people might not know is that 90% of the people who own 90% of businesses in Alberta get 100% of their revenue in Alberta. So Alberta's which is not good. And Alberta is quite localized. And so, I'm just a fan of business. I'm a fan of, trying to help some people, expand the business. And we talk about all these cool companies like, Jobber or an Edmonton Bio, where we still, we still talk about BioWare, great success story, but, we need like 1,000 of those. And so I'm happy to do anything that we can do to encourage small and medium business and of course big, but small and medium business in the city. And it's just Calgary people too. So
that is a great stat that I haven't heard before. 90% of businesses get their revenue, 100% of their revenue from Alberta, and something we should change. So, Michael, I know that you're not going to do it yourself, so I'll do it for you. In case anyone didn't know, Michael Oshry is running for mayor, trying to make the leap from city councilor to mayor. And I'm just going to throw this out there, Michael. I feel like we should have you and some other mayoral candidates on the show later in the cycle here and talk what we can do as a city for the tech community. So maybe something down the line we can have with some of the other mayoral candidates.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Michael Oshry. Great to have, I love to see people that are from all aspects of our community joining us at TNT, entrepreneurs, city councilors, and people like Mark Mitchell, who are full-time angel investors, VC investors, sponsors of TNT. Mark comes from Red Thread Ventures. They work to help early stage companies on a full-time basis. So Mark, welcome. Great to have you part of the group here, and take it away. Tell us a little bit about you.
Thanks so much, Zach. And hopefully I can do the other folks justice that already introduced themselves. I can kind of just do a quick background on myself, and then, happy to answer any questions, Zach, that you might have. So I have a kind of unorthodox background. I've lived in 5 different countries. I've worked in all of them. I've studied in most of them as well. I've spent about 5 years in China through studies as well as travel, as well as most recently work. I've studied Mandarin Chinese for about 10 years. Most of that was actually, half of that was in China. And then the other half was also in university here in Edmonton. So I have a bachelor's degree from U of A in finance, economics, and also Chinese. And then I have a master's degree from Ivey Business School at Western University. And then I also had an opportunity to do a really cool program called STEMS that allowed me to go to a bunch of different universities around the world. So I went to Tsinghua University in Beijing, I went to ESADE Business School in Barcelona, and then I did a couple internships through that program. One of them was in management consulting in Barcelona for about 6 months. The other one was in a tech startup in India for about 6 months in Bangalore. And so I had done all these things like, you know, traveling, going to different countries, spent a lot of time in Asia, studied business, studied finance, was really into investing, you know, very passionate about different countries and cultures. And I think a couple common themes throughout that was, you know, seeing technology companies growing. Like I had been to China from 2006 all the way up until most recently in 2019. And like the change is just absolutely insane. And like living in Bangalore, living in, you know, Barcelona, seeing all these different kinds of tech communities. And I'd also started a couple businesses during undergrad, during grad school, just kind of on the side. So I got my feet wet in business as well. But I really wanted to do something with my career that combined entrepreneurship, technology, business, finance, and international exposure. So I actually had the opportunity in early 2019 to move to Bangkok. So my now fiance and I, we sold everything we owned, including a house in Edmonton. And we moved all the way to Bangkok with the expectation that we were going to be in Asia for like at least 5 years or something. That did not happen. So I was working there, and I was working for a company that was doing investments into Southeast Asian technology companies as well as Chinese tech companies. So I had the opportunity to travel all around Southeast Asia, go to China a bunch of times, really get an idea of, you know, how to raise capital as well as how to talk to entrepreneurs, look at pitch decks, look at financial models, like all that kind of very practical finance stuff that you think you know from university, but you don't really know until you actually start doing it. And obviously like also build a pretty good network of different entrepreneurs and investors from all over the world. And then we actually ended up, my wife ended up getting pregnant. So we were there for about 6 months. She found out she was pregnant. We moved back in November 2019, back to Edmonton. And then I met my current boss and mentor, Sean, who's an angel investor in Vancouver. He had just started Red Thread Ventures, and he needed someone to kind of step in and lead the firm operationally, because Sean is our main investor, but he's not really doing much with Red Thread operationally. So I kind of stepped into that role, and for the last, I guess since February 2020, I've been leading Red Thread, and we're kind of, you know, figuring out what we really are and where we fit into this like venture capital, investment banking, entrepreneurial kind of world. So what we really do is we help typically really early stage companies raise capital, and then we look to invest into those companies. So we actually have 2 investment funds, and we've made about 14 investments since June 2020. So that was our first investment, was in June 2020. Done about 14 since then. So it's really been ramping up. Like in 2021, we've done 10 investments and helped companies raise millions of dollars. So I'm just still kind of figuring this all out. Like I'm still fairly new in the angel investing space, but I've been pretty fortunate to be put in a position, I think at, you know, a fairly young age, to have a lot of responsibility and start to do this at a very high level. So super excited to be part of Startup TNT. And like, I'm really impressed with kind of how everything's been run, Zach and you and Tim and all the people behind the scenes. It's been a fantastic opportunity for me. And I'm just really excited to see how I can help out and how we can make more investments in Alberta tech companies. So yeah, happy to be here.
Well, Mark, it's great to have you. And just to confirm, you guys both help companies prepare for investment, and then you also have some funds that can actually do the investment.
Yeah, exactly. So we do have 2 investment funds. So we're kind of playing both sides of the equation. Like I think a lot of, at least what I've seen, I think a lot of companies actually struggle with how to raise capital, especially early stage companies when they don't have a lot of people in their team. Like maybe they're not super adept in, you know, how to like build a good pitch deck or like make sure their financial model looks good. Just make sure they're really presentable for investors. And then the other part of that is, you know, a Rolodex of investors and contacts and VC firms. It just takes a long time to build that. So our goal is to kind of expedite that process and then obviously invest in the companies that we're working with. So we're approaching everything from an investor perspective first, but we're really trying to help companies before they're actually going out and raising capital. We want to help them do that because we just think we can, with our help, we can do it faster. And then, companies can get financed faster, and we can make some awesome investments as well. So.
That's great, Mark. I'm hearing a bunch of like Slack buzzes. Are those entrepreneurs?
Yes, sorry about that. I got like Slack, Teams, WhatsApp, like everything's like blasting at me.
I'm looking at comments in the chat here. Everyone's like, Mark's making us look bad. All that international experience, all those degrees. You're particularly making me look bad, Mark, because I'm sure you speak fluent Mandarin and you can have a great conversation with my wife in her native language.
I would love to have a conversation with her. Unfortunately, my Mandarin isn't as good as when I was living there, obviously, but I'm still fortunate to work with a lot of Chinese investors. So I do like use WeChat all the time and have conversations in Mandarin like at least once a week. So try to keep it up as best I can.
Okay, thanks so much, Mark. We got 2 investors left. Up next, we have another TNT ambassador, Lindsay Vanstone, currently works with Alberta Women Entrepreneurs. She's with our second investment summit, very active, big fan of what we're doing here at TNT. Great to have you part of the brand, part of the community. Lindsay, tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into angel investing.
Thank you. I don't have my startup TNT t-shirt yet. I don't have the beers anymore because I drank them all from the start of the summit. So next week I will have both.
Delivery's going out next week, Lindsay. Delivery's going out next week.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for having me here tonight, Zach. I feel so inspired by everybody else on the call. And as you mentioned, my day job is with Alberta Women Entrepreneurs, running a program to help women-owned businesses scale and think digitally. And I also have some experience in real estate, transportation, urban planning, and I will go on the record saying that I'm very pro e-scooters. I enjoy them. I have fun riding them. I have fun charging them. They're great. I know there can be issues with them on the sidewalks. But my angel investment started with TNT, and I don't know that I would have gotten into it otherwise. I joined TNT kind of last fall around the summit, when the summit was happening, and it's really introduced me to angel investing, helped me see that angel investing isn't just for accountants, bankers, corporate finance wizards, and pardon me.
Or old white men. Trying to diversify a group here a little bit, just a little bit. Some younger people. Anyways, keep going.
Yeah. So I have the opportunity to be able to help with that age and gender diversity with TNT. Yeah, even like I came into it initially thinking that I'd take some time to sit and listen, learn, do a lot of being a little bit more on the sidelines, but from the first couple DD calls, due diligence calls, I loved being part of the conversations and looking at these companies and seeing if there were deals on the table. And I think having a broader set of perspectives in the investment community makes the community stronger and more reflective of all of its members. Yeah, and so TNT has helped me kind of form my investment thesis in a safe and relatively low risk environment where there's support from lots of experienced investors who have done this before, and I can feel like I'm having an impact without having to write checks the size that we normally associate with angel investors. Yeah, so that's been great for me, and I've been able to invest in great companies like Triangle in the fall in Edmonton, solving a critical quality of life problem. Aerolytics in Calgary, solving the part of the working on the emissions reduction challenges in the energy sector. And I'm looking forward to the deals coming up this round as well. And I guess one last thing to add is that, from one summit to the next, I feel more connected to Edmonton and to Alberta. I moved here not quite 5 years ago. And so this is a way for me to feel connected, to be able to, I guess starting tonight, not tonight, it's raining, but when we can go back to sitting on patios, eating in restaurants, seeing more people and knowing that there are more familiar faces around. Yeah, so I mean, TNT has really showed me that, when we all come together We have people who can focus on the returns and the deal terms. We have people who can focus on the teams. There are people who can focus on the problems at hand. We can really combine all our strengths and amplify the entrepreneurs and the change makers in the community. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of this summit, to future summits, and continuing to make more friends, having fun, and building great companies.
Well, thank you, Lindsay. And, yeah, a round of applause. Like this was like a motivational speech you just gave us all, Lindsay. And I just want to make a comment. This kind of came up in your talk, and I made a joke about it. But, the investment thesis at TNT, aside from like creating a great space for people to learn, is also that, collectively as a group, James mentioned this too, we're going to make actually better decisions. We're going to do better due diligence. We get more perspectives in there. And so, tonight on the call, we have Lindsay, Karen, Angela. We need more women. This is very obvious. We need more women. We need more diverse backgrounds in general as part of our investment team. So thank you, Lindsay. And anyone listening in the audience, we're looking for more different types of people to join us. We don't want to be all from the same background. We want to have very different backgrounds to bring those perspectives. So I'll just leave it there. And we got one final speaker, also from Calgary, like Jade. One it's in for a second. Stummet was the lead on a Nuara, one of the deals we did at the last summit, helping us out a lot with this summit. It is Kyle Kanofsky. Kyle, welcome to Angel Pitch Night. How are you going to close it out for us? Tell us a little bit about the story behind Kyle Kanofsky.
Yikes. Okay. Well, Zach invited me kind of last minute to this, and he forgot to send me the invite. So I'm going to do my best. And it's a really hard act to follow all these.
Truth comes out. We're actually not that organized on these.
And all these amazing people following all of you. I mean, how do I do that? Thanks to all of you for sharing. First of all, that's amazing. Thanks, Zach, for organizing. I think I'd like to start there. It's awesome to hear all your stories. I've seen some of you around in the TNT networks and on the calls and stuff like that. So thanks for sharing. And so I'll dive a little bit into. I don't think my background is as impressive as everyone else's, but I have a little bit of telecom background, James, as well. I started my career at Shaw Communications here in Calgary when I was a lot younger, in sales, kind of like Jade, and family-owned company, but a big one. Through that, I just, was involved in a lot of building of different business units within Shaw. And so I realized I really, really loved kind of the building aspect. And as things kind of flattened out and became more kind of standardized, I got a little bit bored. So, but really got a lot of exposure to technology and technology implementation through Shaw, and then made the transition from there into kind of the startup community. And I'm a third generation Alberta kid. I did grow up a little bit of my life in BC as well, but my grandfather and father kind of were pretty pivotal in helping shape the landscape of energy here in Alberta. And so super proud of that heritage and that legacy, particularly my grandfather. And so kind of played that off some of the technology background I had, and kind of just love for technology and a view of the importance of it in terms of integration to kind of businesses more broadly. And so I got involved in a startup, and I've worked for probably a dozen or more startups in the last 8 years or so. Invested in about that many. I often invested in ones I was working with. I was never a founder. Well, I was a founder once, but it wasn't successful. But we can talk about that offline. Maybe
Sounds like me.
If people want to chat about that, it was a cool idea, but maybe it was a little too big for our britches, I think. But anyways, got involved in a bunch of different companies. Started in the oil and gas technology space. Did some remote monitoring technology. A company called Osprey that I don't know if James has heard of that one, but we did some work with Zedi. Pretty cool company, a little rocky road, but they're doing well, I think now. And yeah, some thermal imaging companies, some supply chain finance stuff like fintech and all kinds of different things. And then I transitioned to a bunch of different companies, kind of all over in different sectors. So kind of just love it. I mean, I have a huge amount of pride for Alberta, and a huge amount of pride in folks like the angels that are on this call, and hopefully others that are listening, that are really deeply involved in the Alberta community and helping to shape the community and really get involved. And groups like TNT and others are, I'm involved with CDL here locally in the Rockies cohort, and another investment club that does kind of some, philanthropic based investing, kind of that, purpose over profit type investing that Jade was talking about. And I think that type of stuff is super, super critical to us, being a powerhouse in terms of our technology and our innovation here. And we have a ton of deep engineering talent and builder kind of based talent here, and I'm super, super proud of that. So I just really love to get involved. I'm not going to kind of toot my horn. I haven't thrown a lot of capital in, but I've spent a lot of time and not for a lot of money over the last 8 years, working with lots of startups, just learning and acquiring knowledge and acquiring network and trying to give back as much as I can. I guess I say that now, but I've just accepted a role at Deloitte. So I'm at Deloitte now, working with larger companies, but I'm still, very much involved in the startup space. And at Deloitte, I'm actually working to help leverage bringing technology companies into the fold and leveraging them inside of large enterprises and getting them to help scale those businesses. So anyway, that's a little bit about me. I mean, really respect everyone else on the call. I'm looking forward to getting to know all of you better, and applaud Zach and the team at TNT. I'm a big side deal guy, so if you guys are interested in some side deals, let's get going, because there's some cool.
That's music to my ears, Kyle. We're all about the side deals at TNT. We're not a winner take all group here. We're all about finding great deals and supporting them. So, and
I'll just finish with, I'm holding a company I invested in here, a local Calgary company called Hecho Tequila. Little plug for them. If you like tequila soda, amazing company, delicious tequila sodas. So, Kyle, before we let you go,
great local plug. Before I let you go, Kyle, I want to ask maybe your just thoughts on an opportunity that has kind of come up here, which is reinvesting a lot of the wealth that was generated in Alberta in traditional businesses into these new technologies. I know from your family's background and your personal connections, you're deep into a lot of Albertans, that have made their wealth in traditional means and are probably looking to diversify. So any thoughts on that as a community in the opportunity there?
Yeah, I've seen some really positive momentum in that respect. I mean, like 8 years ago, there was a little bit of a push into the market, I thought, from kind of high net worth families and family offices and things of the like. But they didn't really understand how to invest in early stage technology companies. So valuation, writing a $100,000, $200,000 check for guys that are used to drilling wells for tens and hundreds of millions of dollars is a different business model. So the valuations kind of crept up, and a lot of people maybe on the call have seen that. But I think we're kind of stabilizing now, and there's been some education happening, and communities like this are really helpful for that. And now you see family offices, with at least a portion of their capital, being driven into early stage companies. CDL has been a big driver of that. TNT, I think, can be, for sure. So I'd like to, Zach and I have talked about this, and I'd like to maybe put together maybe a presentation, or try and leverage this group to both educate and give exposure to, in terms of deal flow to kind of family offices in Calgary and in Alberta. So I'm keen to explore that with anyone that wants to do that, for sure.
Absolutely, Kyle. I mean, we're at TNT, we're all about getting more of the wealth that was created in Alberta invested in the next generation of technology that will be getting their revenue from outside of Alberta, to Michael Oshry's point that he made. So listen, this has been an enlightening conversation. Gosh, it's 6:53. It was supposedly only a 30-minute call, but here we are, 53 minutes later. I don't know why. We just had a lot of fun. So thanks, everybody, for joining us. Investment Summit is next week. Deals are happening. For those of you in the Zoom call here, don't run away. Let's take a group photo for the newsletter. Great to have everybody. And I will see everyone at the happy hour in just a few minutes. Good night, and we'll see you next Thursday.